animals sometimes have to take time out, to do. And a very good evening to you and welcome to this edition of Politics 101. David Hinds here on a Tuesday evening in Guyana and coming to you, of course, from the East Coast, Buxton in particular. I want to welcome everyone down to Politics 101. Trust that you found some time to rest, to relax, to do something fun on the weekend. We political animals sometimes have to take time out, to do some other things, and I consider you, all of us, to be political animals. We're on the grind 7 days per week, 24/7. Sometimes you have to take a day or so and do some lighter things. It's difficult to get politics off the brain and the mind, but sometimes we have to force ourselves to do that. Welcome to Politics 101 Tuesday evening. You're joining us from Guyana. Welcome. The majority of you, of course, are joining us from Guyana. You're joining us from out there on the quarantine. Welcome to Politics 101 in Berbice, West Berbice, one of my favorite areas of Guyana. I want to welcome you to Politics 101. Of course, if you're coming from the East Coast, that's what they call my hunting ground. Special welcome to the people of Golden Grove, Bacchus, and Haslington, ground zero for this phase of our struggle. And tonight we are going to be talking to two of the members of the core group of what I loosely call the Justice for Quindon Bacchus group. This is the group that has been spearheading the protests and the resistance, because we've gone past protests now. Protest is when you come out on the road and you do a thing for a day. They've been leading the resistance. The resistance there in Golden Grove. They had quite a few activities over the last couple of days, and they are going to be joining us in a few to tell us what they have been doing, what they are doing, give us a sense of what's happening in the community. So you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss this. We've been giving you the analysis and all of that stuff for more than a month, because it's past 4 weeks since that young man was killed. And of course, we come on tonight, young man Peters, I know his father, from Annandale, which is next door to Buxton, allegedly burned by a policeman at the Vigilance police station. So here we are. We say old house pan old house. One would think that given all that is happening, all the publicity around the Quindon Bacchus shooting, that policemen would be very careful. But my God, as we say, like it's in the water they drink. It's like in the food they eat. So here is another young man, 17 years old, and I understand, pulled in by the police, asked if he has a gun, based on what I'm hearing. He said he doesn't have the gun. He doesn't have a gun. There is a scramble between the young man and the police proceeded to burn the young man. The police initial statement said the young man is suicidal. He attempted to burn himself. And of course, that was quickly shown to be a lie. So we come tonight on our program, again, having to deal with this question of police brutality. Are we not learning? Are we not learning? Welcome. Welcome to you, Colin, Kurt, Olive, Janet, Colette, Desiree. These are all regulars. If you're joining us from the wider Caribbean, welcome to Politics 101. Barbados, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts Nevis, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, of course, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. And you know, I always forget there are lots of Guyanese in St. Martin. Martin or Martin, whichever one you want to call it. Lots of our sisters and brothers there. And if you're joining us from St. Martin, welcome. Please share the link. Please share the link. Please share the link. You know that we've been doing well with our numbers, excellent with our numbers over the last 4 to 5 weeks. You know, as we would say, Quindon doing good breeze per week. You know, a lot has happened. There's a way in which that young man's demise is not going in vain. It's awakening this country. We can now talk about before Quindon Bacchus and after Quindon Bacchus. The way in which his murder has galvanized sections of our community. The way in which his murder is forcing the government to behave stupidly. Well, more stupidly. I heard today that they're saying that they had to appoint him because they were afraid of Venezuela or some foolishness like that. So they had to invoke this doctrine of necessity that we had to have Higgins. And we know Paul Slow was next in line. He could have acted. Not Paul Slow, I mean Paul Williams. But they didn't want Paul Williams, they wanted their boy. And now they're recognizing that it was against the law. You only use the doctrine of necessity when it's necessary, absolutely necessary. When you don't have any other alternative. We know they had another alternative. And they appointed Higgins. And Quindon Bacchus was murdered under Higgins' watch. You unlawfully appoint a man, and a young man is killed unlawfully. Listen, I don't want to offend my Christian brothers and sisters, my religious brothers and sisters. I know we always say in Christianity, you know, when somebody dies, their time has come. God is ready for them. But I am going to make bold here tonight and say God wasn't ready for Quindon Bacchus. I'm going to bore a little hole in the Christian thing. I know when God is ready for us, he calls us up to heaven. But I'm ready to put the money. I ain't got plenty. But I'm ready to put my argument forward that God was not ready for Quindon Bacchus. I think that sometimes we kill our people against the wishes of God. And that's why I call those who give the order, not just the shooters, because I'm convinced that there's more than the Nobrigas guy shooting, I'm convinced. And that is why My party, the Working People's Alliance, wants a reopening of the investigation. I am convinced that those who gave the order, the higher-ups who are being protected, that they are the ones that are responsible for killing that young man against the wishes of God. God will accept him into heaven. But I didn't think that God wanted that young man to be. Welcome down to Politics 101. I see my friend Danette. Danette, I miss you, girl. You know, Danette Booker. That's my running mate in Buxton. I get a nice Booker cook up. Because you go away, Danette. You go away and you leave us. But anyhow, welcome to Politics 101. My friend Vibert White from Grove on the East Bank. Welcome down, Marlon Samuels. These are all regulars. Dennis Booker. Donna Holder. Welcome to Politics 101. And I want to thank those of you who have been so kind to us. Sending in your little subscription, as we call it, to keep Politics 101 on the roll. I'm seeing Philippa, and I keep forgetting my list of subscribers. But you know who you are. You know who you are. Welcome down to Politics 101. Join us from England. Welcome to Politics 101. We are 70% full, which means 30% of our seats are still empty. As I said, we're going to have 2 members of the Justice for Quindon Bacchus group there in Golden Grove. They are going to be joining us momentarily. Sherry, my cousin Sherry from there in the East Bank. Welcome to Politics 101. Some of you are carrying members. Marlin from Haslington, card-carrying member. Patricia Kissoon, card-carrying member. We've got to get some little things, you know, some little Politics 101 button and pen and those things. We got to move to the big time. My friend Carly Candy Brackett, originally from Melanie, but she moved out now and she gone way far. Welcome down to Politics 101. As you know, we love you on this show. What we do here, did you all hear? Yesterday, the opposition parties met. The PNC, the AFC, the WPA, the NFA, and Nation Builders. They met yesterday. I was one of the delegates representing the WPA, and according to the press release, they had a frank discussion on where things are politically in the country. And they have decided to constitute themselves as the joint opposition parties. And according to the press release, we are going to continue to meet to work out what they call a strategic approach to dealing with this government. That's good news. That's good news. Because coming against the background when the AFC said they're leaving the coalition, well, the WP had already left the AFC. The fact that they all met in this grouping yesterday, I think is good news for opposition supporters. I had the pleasure of speaking on Friday night at big market, Stabrook Market. They had a People's Parliament. You all know I'm not a parliamentarian, but I was invited to speak on Friday night, and it was a very good meeting at the market. We were able to, get our people, start getting them ready for this movement. And I want to thank the parliamentarians for inviting me as an honorary parliamentarian to speak out there on Friday evening. As I said, we don't all have to sing from the same hymn sheet, but at least if we are singing from the same hymn book, that's a positive thing. So I think we should big up ourselves that the opposition parties are hearing us and that we want them to unite and come together. Talking about unity, there's one thing that is uniting Golden Grove, Bacchus, and Haslington, and that is justice for Quindon Bacchus. And I've been saying on this program for the last month that those people are heroes and sheroes. No party didn't tell them, come out on the streets in the open space and stand up. They did it on their own. And I think when the history of this period of Guyana politics is going to be written, the people of Golden Grove would have a front page because they've showed us the way. And so it is for that reason I wanted a couple of their representatives to come here tonight and to speak to us. We have two young ladies who have been in the forefront of the struggle there in Golden Grove, organizing day in, and you see them out there protesting. You see them out there with placards, with candles, but they're doing more than that. They're organizing, they're cooking. Oh my goodness. Because I tell you all over and over, you're talking about boots on the ground, but boots on the ground is not an easy thing. It's not just going out there with a picket and marching. It's a lot more that goes into it. A lot more. And we have to salute these people from Golden Grove. I want you all to join me tonight in giving them some Politics 101 love. We got the greatest love of all on this program. I never miss a night to say to you all, I love you all. When I say I love you all, I really mean it. It comes from deep within my Guyanese belly. David Rhoda said, deep within our Caribbean belly. That's where that love comes from. And I want you all to share that love tonight with these two sisters who are representing. They may be getting a little impatient, but they'll get used to the Politics 101 story. We just got to set the thing up. You just don't bring people. You got to set up the wicket nice, and you got to lay the groundwork. So when they make their arrival, you all know we do the thing here. All right? Okay? We are 90% full. So I think this is a good time to start to bring in our guests. I don't want the guests to come in and talk to an empty house. That's not good manners. So now that you all are up to 90%, you're who and they meet on now, who they frying fish, you done fry the fish, you done prepare your children their dinner and everything, and you're all ready to give us your undivided attention. Undivided attention. Because these people have been giving us undivided love down there in Golden Grove. Let me welcome Miss Robin Simon. The Simon family is a big family, well-known family in Golden Grove. You all know every village gets some family, some last name as we call it, right? Robin, if you can unmute yourself. Good night to you.
Good night, Mr. Hinds. Good night to all the viewers.
And Miss Jackie Gillis. Jackie is not coming up. Here she is. Here she is. Can you unmute, please, Jackie? Can you unmute, please? There you go. Ladies, good night. And sorry to keep you all waiting, but that's you all okay. Know when you're on the big stage, you have to make a grand entrance. So I was keeping you all backstage to make a grand entrance. 92%. 92%. You all better get this thing up for 100% because I can be in part tonight. All right. Welcome to Politics 101. You all have heard my introduction. And what I usually do is I start by asking my guests to just give me your initial thoughts. Tonight, you've come here to discuss the Quindon order. We've been discussing it on this program every single day since Quindon was murdered. You've come here to tell us what you all have been doing because we've been seeing the protests and all that stuff, but now you're seeing faces who are behind the protests. So we're taking it to the next level. So I'm going to start by asking you, as we observe a month since that young man was murdered, what are the thoughts that are going through your mind tonight? I'll start with you, Robin.
Okay. First again, I must say good evening to all the viewers. I have to breathe in and breathe out because it is 1 month and 2 days actually since Quindon was murdered by the Guyana police force. And my present feeling, the way I am feeling right now, is as though we're caught in between a rock and a hard place because we're crying day in and day out for justice. And it's like everything is just turning in an angle that I just cannot seem to get a grip of what is going on fully because it's like we're shocked. I am shocked for words. I am shocked and I'm ashamed of the Guyana police force and their actions and the way in which they are handling Quindon Bacchus case.
There you have it, Miss Robin Simon, expressing shock at the police force. Let me bring in Miss Gillis, Miss Jackie Gillis. Jackie, she is not on our screen. Jackie is not on our screen. Jackie, are you hearing us? If you can unmute, and if you can turn on, Jackie, can you guys unmute and keep yourself on mute? We're not getting Jackie on. Robin, let me.
Yes, Mr. Yes, Dr.
While I wait, Jackie coming on. What motivated you all after you heard Quindon was murdered? Almost immediately, you all came onto the street. What drove? What motivated you? You could have done many other things. You all could have gone to the family house and sit down and hold awake at the house every night. Why you all decide to come out and to let your voices be heard in the public?
The beginning of the protest was started by one family, an entire family, the Kingston's family, that is very close to Quindon, and one Mr. English. We were at a funeral when we heard that they are protesting Quindon's death. When Quindon got shot, the day Quindon was shot, mothers, when we found out the way in which he was murdered, women, mothers, we felt for our sister. So what the actual motivation of the protest came because a sister has lost her son. He was gunned down by the system that is supposed to protect us, that is supposed to be there for us. If something is wrong, you go to them, you make your complaints. They protect you. They shield you. If you have to be taken to the courts or you have to be locked away, it's the way in which things should be done. So when we heard that Quindon was killed and the protest started the 12th of June, that was the Sunday. We left the funeral and we all joined the protest as mothers. So the protest has more women than men because we are mothers and we feel that pain for that sister who has lost her son. That is what motivated that protest.
I think we have Jackie now. Jackie, can you hear us?
Yes, I now
Jackie,
hear
are
you.
you hearing us? You are hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes. Jackie, can you give us your assessment, your feelings about everything that has happened from the murder of that young man to today? What are the emotions going through you?
Okay. From the day on which Quindon had get killed, it was a very sad day because he didn't deserve to die the way he died. And from then on to now, it's been very painful, very hurting, very emotional. When Quindon died on the Friday, the Sunday morning, I had put up on Facebook that I think that we should do a protest. And from there on, then is where this whole protest started. I am so proud of the way we are coming out to do whatever we have to do. We're not going to give up because I'm a mother. I don't have a son, I have a grandson. But at the end of the day, I'm still a mom. And it's very, very, very painful until now. And to see that we're not getting no kind of justice, it makes it more worse and more painful for us as mothers. And even the mother of the child and the father of the child. It's very, very emotional and painful to look at them to lose their son by the hands of the police for no reason.
I have been there a few times in Golden Grove, lending solidarity to your events. I'm sorry I could not come more often, but we political people sometimes have to split ourselves in 10 and 20 and so on. And I didn't get to come this weekend. I know you all had a candlelight vigil there, you had a fundraiser, and I didn't get to come this weekend. My apologies. But I certainly will be there soon. But what impressed me from the time I started to come there was the fact that this protest started with, like you said, with one family, with a few of you. But I've been impressed with the way in which the community as a whole has been lending its solidarity. And Sometimes the crowds have been very large. Sometimes they've not been so very large. But I can feel it in the people's, I can see it in their faces when I go there, that they are 100% behind you. Robin, what do you think that made a community that apparently was just going about its business every day suddenly woke up and join this protest that the few of you started? And I'll ask you the same thing, Jackie, when Robin is finished.
I didn't get you clearly, Dr. Hinds. I'm sorry.
No, I was talking about the support the community has given to the protest. And I'm asking you, what do you think caused a community that was going about its business? Then all of a sudden, something happened and everybody is lending support in one way or the other to the protest. Why do you think that happened?
Because Quindon Bacchus was murdered.
He did not get a chance. What is it about the murder of a young man that can move a community like that?
Because in the way in which he was murdered, Dr. Hinds, the way in which Quindon, that is murder. That he was hunted down. He was assassinated. We are not questioning Quindon's character. Nobody is an angel. Nobody are saints. We are fighting and standing up for justice because of the way in which he was being handled. After they shot him, they threw him, the police of the Guyana police force, those officers, they threw him into the back of that pickup truck like somebody who was never once a human. So all three communities, Haslington, Golden Grove, and the Bacchus, everybody down arms, Victoria, all the other communities that came out, Ansgrove, everybody that came out to support us, and they're still supporting us. That is why everybody down, whatever they were doing, stop. Whatever they were doing that fateful day and the days leading up and after and after and after. That is what caused that. The way in which Quindon was murdered.
The way in which he was murdered,
the way in which the Guyana police force handled the situation.
Jackie, what you think caused the entire community to come out in such numbers and such emotions, with such emotions?
Okay, I will second what Ms. Robin said just now, in the way in which he was killed, because no human being deserves to be gunned down like that. 6 bullets. I would say it was a very heartless killing. And because of the way in which Quindon died, and knowing that he was such a genuine person, such a nice person in the village, he was known to everybody as a peaceful citizen, it really hurts people. So that's the reason why people decide to come out and lend their support, because of the way in which he was killed by the police force.
And to hear these sisters talk about the way in which he was killed and linking the way in which he was killed to the response of the community, we scholars will say what these ladies are telling us here tonight is that Quindon Bacchus was a human being. And the people of Golden Grove and the Bacchus and Haslington are human beings with same emotions as other human beings. And that those people in those communities value life. Life. Those who murder that young man, those who are covering up the murder, those who are making excuses for the murder, they don't seem to value his life. And the life of villagers. I've talked in this program about the different value system. We saw the cries of mayhem and massacre when some stalls were burnt at Monrepo. I'm not saying they were right to burn those stalls or to burn the minibus. But we saw from the highest mountain of government, we saw from half of our population, the tears that they shed for one report, and no tears were and are forthcoming from those sections of our population for Quindon, Bacchus, and the people of Golden Grove, the Bacchus and Haslington. And these young ladies are saying here tonight, when we heard the way in which he was murdered, we were moved because we are human beings, and he's a human being. That's what they're talking about, the humanism, which is absent, either willfully so, by sections of our population. I opened the Stabrook News yesterday, and I saw them do a story because I asked them last week. For 2.5 weeks, they never went to Golden Grove and talked to the people of Golden Grove. And as soon as one report happened, they descended on one report, and when they were finished, they went back to Georgetown, so that when the people of Golden Grove were being shot at a few hours later, the cameras were not there, the reporters were not there, only Travis Chase. And God bless him and bless that television station. And I noticed Stabrook News, as we would say, they take shame from their eyes. And they did a story yesterday. That is the way it should be, because those people are human beings. That young man is a human being. Sisters, what have you all been doing? Robin, tell us what you all have been doing. I know we loosely use the word protesting, but tell us actually what you all have been doing for the last month.
Dr. Hinds, we have been out there day in, day out. We started every day. Then we had to come down to 3 days because remember, people still have to work. They have their kids to take care of. Some of us were shot, haven't fully recovered from the pellets and all of that. So we have been trying to not trying. I'm not gonna say trying. I'm telling you what we're doing. We are protesting.
Yes.
We are crying and calling and standing.
Tell us exactly what you've been doing.
For justice. That's what we're doing. But protesting does not always mean we're gonna hold a placard and stand up and shout. We're gonna be protesting in different forms. We have been doing candlelight.
Robin, don't get too far. Tell us what you have been doing thus far. You've been out there a month.
Far,
tell us, you've been holding, I've been there with candlelight vigils.
Candlelight.
Tell us.
Yes, we've been protesting, as we know. We've been having the candlelight vigil. We had drumming a few nights. We've had a fundraiser the other night because Quindon left a 3-year-old son that only remembers his father by leaving on a motorbike. And that 3-year-old son has to be raised. So the fundraiser that we did the other night is to contribute to the child. And we had a second candlelight vigil on Sunday. So we have been meeting every other day for the past few weeks. And we're not going to stop.
Jackie, what are some of the other things that that Robin may have missed that you all have done?
She hasn't missed anything. As she said that we normally meet every other day. We normally meet and plan what will be our next event. So far, everything has been successful for the plans that we had. And we will continue to do what we have to do for Quindon.
Are you all in this thing for the long haul? Because you know they've charged one of the boys for murder. They charged 2 more for obstructing justice. We know that the wheels of justice turn very slowly, very, very slowly. Are you all prepared to stay in this thing for as long as it takes to bring what you all call justice for Quindon? Jackie?
Yeah. Yes, we will.
Yeah. Um, uh, uh, Robin, tell us some of the challenges that you all are facing as you try to hold this movement together. You already talked that you have had to scale down from 7 weeks to 3 days, 7 days to 3 days. I've been saying, well, people like to talk about boots on the ground, but boots on the ground, it's more than boots on the ground. What are some of the things you need? Let me take back the challenges and say, what are some of the things that you all need now to keep this movement, let's say, for the next 6 months?
Okay, so some of the things that we need, one of the major things we need would be the full support of our people.
Yes.
It does not have to, you do not have to come from Golden Grove or Aslington and the Bacchus. Other villages and other communities can be of support. Help us to cry. Help us to, by giving us your strength. That is one of the major things that we need. We also need we've been using t-shirts. Why we've been using the t-shirts is because we want to be uniform. People must be able to identify us, because anybody can put on a red t-shirt and do anything. All these mischievous people that are being paid to cause distraction within our protest, within us, the protesters, we are separating ourselves by using the t-shirts. So we need t-shirts. We need we're out there, we need water. We cook out there. We do everything out there at Golden Grove Road front. Transportation when we need to go around. So those are some of the things that we really need, but we need support from our people. We need more support from our people. And when I say our people, I'm sorry to say this, but we need more support from our Black people, because it is our Black sons who the police force, they're gunning down our Black sons. We're also losing our daughters, but our Black sons and fathers, they're the ones. Every time you miss is a gun down, or one of them is being treated badly by the operatives or by the government of the day. So we need our Black people to come out.
Jackie?
Yeah, as Robin said, that's basically our problem right now, the support from people. What I tend to find to see is that when there is certain function, you only find people coming out. But when it's the time to support the protesting, we're not seeing them. Mm-hmm. And that is what we are looking for. We are looking for them to support us in the protesting.
Boots to the ground.
But what they want is bodies out there. And I want to continue to make that appeal here. Go on down there at some one of the events. If you're visiting Guyana from overseas, make your way to Golden Grove. Even if there is not an event going on, go see the family. Asperan's a small community. You're going to find the family. You're going to find those who are organizing. Go down there and let your bodies be counted. Let your bodies be counted. And if you live in Guyana and you are from Berbice or you are weekend, go down there and join one of the activities on the weekend when you're home from work, wherever you are, in Georgetown or wherever. And it is important you hear these young ladies. I know that there are other things that they need, which I'm going to press them on just now. But you hear what they stress first? They stress they want your bodies there. Because our numbers tell the story. We live on the government like to say, There was 100 people there, and it means if 100 people there, they ain't worrying with those people in Golden Grove. It's a small group of them. We need you all to go there and to lend your support wherever you are. Robin, how can people know when you all are holding events? Is there a website, a Facebook page? What tell us where people can get information on your activities?
Well, for now, we are only being covered by a Facebook page by the name of Ray Lilly, and we've Mr. Kadaki was with us on Sunday at the village, and he covered. So from time to time, we will be inviting Mr. Kadaki, but on Facebook page, Ray Lilly is our only coverage, because remember, Dr. Hinds, this is something we just got up and decided to do. It wasn't planned. It's wake up, pull some cardboard, these young ladies, and write up, and they started the protest, and that's it. So we are now trying to pull ourselves together by getting things in place so that things can be done, But anybody, anytime we're out there, we always publish it that we will be protesting on this day and what day. But Saturdays, every Saturday, we are at Golden Grove Market in the morning from 6, 7 o'clock, because that's the time when we do get some more bodies added.
It's weekend.
Yes.
And so you're saying that when you plan activities in advance, people can get that information from Kams TV. It's one of the places that will advertise the event. But we know that every Saturday, you all are out there from in the morning. Throughout the day. Now, so we want people to go out there. Now, I know, as someone who has been around this thing for a long time, that this thing needs resources. You mentioned jerseys and so on, so that people can wear. Is there a person, a contact, like in the United States, where people can get those things quite easily? Is there a contact number or a contact person that people can get in contact with if they want to donate some T-shirts and so on?
Yes, I have myself and a few members of this grassroots movement. We call ourselves, because we're from the countryside, deep in the country, as you all know. So we call ourselves the grassroots movement. We have been in contact with one Miss Novella Noble, and that's our beginning. That's our now, like a week or two now that we've been, because they other people outside of Guyana has been donating to us. They do not want their names to be called and all of that.
Right.
But we have been in contact with Miss Novella Noble, and you, Mr. Hinds, and Mr. Kadaki. Those are our these are the people we are always in contact with. Per adventure, we really do need help. Yes.
Right. So we're going to try to coordinate, get in contact with Sister Noble, and try to see if she can come on to one of our programs where people can, she'll be able to provide numbers and other contact where people, and in Guyana, where people can come to the village. Is there a spot in the village, a place, if people want to donate anything?
They can actually reach out to me on Facebook, my messenger. It's Robin P. Simon. They can actually reach out to myself or Jackie Gillis. We're all on Facebook. The father, Julius Bacchus. The mother, Juanette Sandy. Everybody, we're all on Facebook. So it's just a message.
And for those who are not on Facebook, because you know some people
We
not
are on
Facebook.
Facebook. The main people you can find on Facebook.
Yeah, no, I mean those people who may want to contribute but are not on Facebook. How can they contact you all?
They can.
Will you all give us probably not now, but will you all give us a number on a program like this that we can?
Sure. They can. I can give my number right now. My number. Okay. They can contact me on WhatsApp, Miss Simon, 632-5291.
632
5291.
632-5291.
Miss Jackie can also give her number.
Miss Jackie?
Yes, my number is 681.
681.
Yeah, 01. 86.
86. All right, you all hear those numbers. If you all would like to contact these ladies and you all would like to make a contribution, if you're not able to be there in person for the protest, you can call them. If you can repeat that number one more time, ladies. I noticed some people are saying you all went too fast. So if you all can give us those numbers again.
632
632
5291.
5291.
681
681
0186.
All right, so you all got those numbers there. 632-5291, 681-0186. You can call any of those two numbers either straight or via WhatsApp to make whatever contributions or to find out when the activities will be held, the public activities will be held, etc. Robin, let me ask you this. How is the family holding up? The mother, the father, the grandmother? I know you're in court. How are they holding up?
Well, today was court. They were supposed to be here with us on the program today, but today was court. And honestly speaking, they're not. The father, the mother, she is weak. She is trying. But she is not as strong as the father, although the father tries to show us he is strong, but he is not strong. No mother wants to bury their son, at least not this way. No father wants to bury their son, at least not this way. So this is hard for them. It is very hard. It is very hard.
I heard
and the
mother.
Police force,
yeah.
And the police force, what the way things are going now, it's a slap on the mother's face, a slap on the father's face, and they actually spit on the grave of Quindon Bacchus. It's disrespectful.
Yeah, yes, but and I hear you, but I'm saying, sometimes the wheels of justice move very slow. I think you all have won a big victory. I'm saying that had it not been for the stance taken in that village, they might not have been a charge because they were trying to. So even as ultimate justice is not there, I think you all have won some big victories. Struggle is a process. Who am I to tell people who have lost a son, who have lost a loved one, that, justice will come tomorrow morning? I understand. But also understand that there is another big picture. If there is no struggle, there is no justice.
Yes.
All right? And that justice may drip today and it may roll down like a stream tomorrow, right? So you all are winning. Don't let anybody tell you all are not winning. You all are winning. You all got the Prime Minister to come there. He had nothing to say, but he came there and I was there and he begged to speak. You kept him waiting. I was standing there and you kept him waiting. And The Prime Minister had to climb down from his perch and come down to you. You are winning. Don't believe you're not winning. The fact that you can get the David Hinds of this world to leave what they're doing and to make your case. The number one case, you're winning. You've caught the attention of Guyana. You've caught the attention of those who matter. Some of us are doing more than others, but you've caught our attention. Never believe you're not winning. As I said, as someone who deals with history, when the history of this time will be written, you all will be front page. You all will be front page. Jackie, let me ask this question. You said you don't have a son, but you have a grandson.
I didn't get it.
You said you don't have a son, but you have a grandson.
Yeah.
What goes through? What does a woman? You know, I used to go to church. Can a woman stand the care?
It's towards the child she bears.
Sees towards the child she bears. Talk to me as a mother, because as a grandmother, you're also a mother. It's the way you look at mama, you're so granny. Granny and mama is the same thing. All right? Talk to me as a mother.
It's as I would always say it. It's very hurtful. It's very painful. Sometimes I'm lost for words because we as parents, we're not supposed to be burying our kids like that.
Yeah.
It's so heartless. It's like Dr. Hinds, it's like sometimes tears just came to my eyes to know, that the way in which the police are handling our boy children, that's not the right way. Because even when after the shooting the next morning when we were out on the road to protest, I was talking with Inspector Craig, or I think it's Craig is his name. And I asked him the question. I said, do you have a family? Do you have sons for your workmates to be acting in this kind of manner, to be murdering someone else's child? And when I looked at him in the eyes, because I was beating my chest plate because I'm so hurt, even though he's not my son. And I looked at him in the eyes and I said, tell me, to be honest from your heart, how do you feel about this situation? And he looked at me and I saw water came to his eyes, but he still couldn't have answered the question. So it's Dr. Hinds, I'm talking to you and my heart, my old stomach plate is hurting. It's hurting to know what we as mothers have to go through sometimes.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, are you morning? Morning. Welcome to another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. It is now 7 hours 20 on the 13th day of July in the year 2022. Yes, I'm still celebrating my birthday, my birth anniversary. It was officially yesterday, so this is the morning after. But on the morning after, one of the things which rings in my ears, my stomach plate is hurting. It is hurting as a mother to see what we have to go through. I saw tears in his eyes, but he still couldn't answer the question. Many of us are torn up inside. We're torn up on a daily basis because we know the right, but we do it not. Or we believe that we have no authority, no power within us to change it. But sometimes all we have to do is go a little deeper into our inner beings and find that courage to stand up to the oppressors, to stand up to those who are giving us illegal instructions, to stand up and say, I will not do it anymore. You want it done, do it yourself. You want it done, do it yourself. As an employee, as a manager at different levels, I always told myself, if I'm going to ask my subordinates to do anything, I must first know to do it or have a clear understanding of how it has to be done. And so if they refuse to do it, then I can demonstrate how to do it. Even if it is that they have a difficulty in understanding how to do it, I can demonstrate. And so yes, those who are giving you these illegal orders, these instructions to go there and kill people and maim people and to disrespect human rights and disregard people's right. You in the Guyana Police Force, you in the Guyana Defense Force, you in public service must grow the gall, the courage to at some point in time look at them and tell them, do it yourself, not me. It's an illegal order, I'm not going to do it. Do it yourself. And when more people come to the point of doing that, I'm assured that we can get a better system. I am assured we can get a better system. Okay? That's my encouragement this morning. Look deeper within. Look deeper within. Find that courage and stand up for what is right. Because as it has been demonstrated, if you don't stand for what is right, it will come back to haunt you. It will come back to haunt you. I'm not piling coals on the head of Damian McLennan. But Sergeant Damian McLennan is a good example of what happens when people don't challenge the system to be right at all times. Done? A young man who has worked his way through the ranks of the Guyana Police Force to becoming sergeant. As far as I understand, he has a master's degree. He was promoted to cadet. When you're selected as a cadet in the Guyana Defense Force, the Guyana Police Force, basically you're being trained for leadership. And simply, in this issue of Christophe, the Nobberger, the murder of Quindon Bacchus, Damian McLennan is now watching his old future become dark, at least in the Guyana Police Force. The promotion to rank of, or promotion to cadetship was withdrawn. It's published in the extra of the July 5th official gazette. His promotion was withdrawn. But while his promotion was withdrawn, there is still at least 2 officers who were directly related, directly involved in the murder of Quindon Bacchus that are walking the streets of this country freely. Many people cry racism when you identify them as Indo-Guyanese, but the fact is they are Indo-Guyanese policemen who participated in the murder of Quindon Bacchus, and they have not been charged, while the Afro-Guyanese counterparts have been charged, even for as little as a task as observing from a distance, as Damian McLennan was doing, because that is what he was instructed to do: observe the operation. He wasn't involved. He wasn't supposed to be involved in the operation. It's Wednesday. Many of you might think that I'm already late for Dr. Hinds, but I'm sure Dr. Hinds will understand that it was important that I play that tape from last night, because it was very instructive to us, very, very instructive to us to hear those ladies talk about the ordeals fighting for justice of the life of one of their own from the Golden Grove community. Dr. Hinds, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Brother Kadaki, and good morning to your viewing and listening audience.
Welcome to another program. It's another Wednesday, of course. It's now 7:27. Later than you would come on normally. But like I was saying, I had to play that tape from Politics 101 last night, so that viewers understand what the ladies, the residents, the mother, the father, and everybody in Golden Grove has been experiencing since the murder of Quindon Bacchus. It's more than a month now, and as many of us see it, there's no clarity, if I can call it that. There's no assurance that so far justice has been served in this matter. 7 policemen participated, 3 of them have been charged. Names of 2 Indo-Guyanese are being called, but they have not been charged. We've seen the withdrawal of a promotion to Damian McLennan, who has been charged, I think, for attempting to pervert the course of justice, withdrawn. What is your take? How do you view these developments, or non-development, if I can call it, in this murder investigation?
Well, your viewers would be accustomed to my outlook on life and outlook on politics by now. If you define justice as some moment or something, then you would conclude that justice has not been served. If you define justice as a process, always moving, always twisting, always turning, but pointing in the direction of cleaning that which is dirty, exposing that which is hidden, beginning the process of facing the law. If you define justice as all of that, then justice has begun to be served. We have charges. We don't know whether they're the right charges. We don't know whether the right people have been charged. It looks as though they've not been charged. But the fact of the matter, 1 month ago, the police appeared as though they did not even want to investigate much more charge. And so therefore, one has to see this process as ongoing. And I am arguing that the fact that the world is talking, that Guyana is talking about the Quindon Bacchus murder, is in itself a vindication of the efforts of those who have been directly involved in pushing back, and those who have given support. One has to be able to define one's own reality based on one's own standards. You cannot allow somebody else to define your reality. If they say to you nothing has been served, then they're saying that what you've been doing there in Golden Grove is worth nothing. Go home. Those people might as well pack up and go about their business if we are telling them that their efforts have yielded nothing. I think people like myself and yourself and others, it is our duty to be able to craft our own reality, to be able to interpret our own reality. And in interpreting that reality, we ought to give strength to those who have the strength to stand up. So I do not subscribe to this pessimistic view that nothing has happened. A lot has happened. A tremendous lot has happened. And they have happened because the people of Golden Grove, Bacchus, and Haslington and their allies in other parts of Guyana and the world have stood up. All praises and salute to those people. If we say nothing has happened, justice has not been served, then we are saying those people have been wasting time. I know they have not been wasting time. So a lot has happened. A lot has happened in 4 weeks. And so, yes, the wheels of justice have begun to turn. And they've begun to turn in the favor of those who have been victimized. I have not heard the name Orrin Boston called so many times since he was murdered almost a year ago. Thanks to the effort that we are doing, we are also signaling justice for Orrin Boston and the Henry boys and Peter Hendy and all the hundreds of young men who have been murdered by the state.
Thank you, Dr. Hinds. As I talk with you, I'm informed that the 2 Indian men, Indian police ranks, Sunil Prasad and whatever the other name, I'll get it shortly. But I understand that these police officers are back on the job at Special Branch, working internally. While the 3 African policemen, Afro-Guyanese policemen have been charged, the call continues for all involved to be charged. We are not getting any indication. We have not heard any mention of a possibility that this investigation will be reopened. Your thoughts on that?
Power concedes nothing without a demand. Power concedes nothing without a struggle. So said Frederick Douglass.
Very well.
The more we demand, the more, my goodness, the police force is in turmoil. It is the most derided institution in society. All of that in 4 weeks, Brother Kidaki. We have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot more to go. But you have to decide whether the glass is half full or half empty. If we keep saying what has not happened and what has not happened, then we are saying the glass is half empty. I am here this morning to say no, the glass is half full.
Very well, the glass is half full, and everybody views it from their own perspective, like you rightly
But
said.
we have to view it from the perspective of those who are fighting. Not everybody views from their perspective. There is those who hold power, the powerful and the powerless. That's not everybody. Those are 2 distinct poles of our society. And we who are powerless must measure our success against what we have at our disposal. We don't have armies, we don't have police forces, we don't have media, we don't have all the levers of power. But in spite of that, my God, we have walked and come a long way. Let us not say that we have not. Analysis is also important. Analysis from the perspective of those who are powerless, those who are on the heels of the state, cannot be the analysis of those who have power. We start from 2 different places. And if you start from nothing and you get up to 0.5, you have made tremendous strides.
Indeed, I believe we have made tremendous strides. Don't for 1 minute think I haven't recognized the strides that we've made. Among those strides is getting the court to start the hearing of the appointment or illegal appointment of Clifton Hicken. That case came up yesterday for hearing. And we have seen certain statements coming from the office of the Minister of Home Affairs, Ben. Your response to that presentation in court or that representation as reported in the news?
That we are winning. That's my response. We are forcing them to lie. They invoke the doctrine of necessity, and now it is shown that the doctrine of necessity was unlawfully invoked. We are winning, comrades. We are winning. We are winning. That's my call, my clarion call. We are winning.
For the viewers, you and I have seen the responses, sir. Could you elaborate a little more on the lies or the lies of as you interpret it?
What you want me to elaborate on, to say that they are not lies?
No, for example, the doctrine of necessity that was invoked and is now being shown that it was actually incorrectly used. And the result of Ben, for example, in his affidavit said, look, it was important to appoint Hicken because of this Venezuelan controversy. Is there any relationship between the appointment of Hicken as acting commissioner of police and the Venezuelan controversy?
Well, that's the narrative of the government. The government is presenting its narrative. And it is up to the opposition lawyers to bore holes in that narrative, and they've done so. And they've done so not with fiction, they've done so with reason, they've done so with facts. And I think that that in itself is a tremendous achievement. When you are able to put the state and the government on the back foot, you have not yet bowled them, but you have put them on the back foot. You have them fishing outside the off stump. You have them not reading which way the ball is thrown. You are winning. You are winning. That's my message this morning. We are winning.
Thank you again. And among the victories that we can claim, I understand the government is now moving to Golden Grove to host a one-week youth empowerment. 1 week youth empowerment. They didn't find a time, or they didn't move in a timely manner to go talk with the people on the Quindon Bacchus murder, the assault on the community by the Giant Services. But we understand now they're going to host a 1 week youth empowerment. I must mention that as part of the victories. What we get out of it, most likely I will say, will be dependent on what we demand. And so I'm encouraging.
Well, I would say we don't want nothing out of it, because they're going there as they went to Confronting and they went to Buxton to make themselves a puppy show. Let the government do its puppy show. We are forcing them to make themselves more asses than they are. And that is what they're doing, youth empowerment, outreach in Buxton, and so on. They're making themselves a puppy show, and we force them to make themselves asses. And so let the jackass bray, as Dr. Eric Williams would have said.
Thank you. The mention of Dr. Eric Williams. On the international scene, we have seen the people of Sri Lanka chase the government out of office, if I can call it that. The president is on the run. In the takeover of the presidential palace, as I refer to it, I've not heard of one single shot fired, nor one Sri Lankan shot dead. Compared to Guyana, not so long ago, when a group of protesters ventured in front of the office of the president, a number of persons were shot and injured, and a couple died. Mark Benchop was locked up for treason. Today, protesters are claiming that they are afraid of a repeat of this, and so many people are not willing to venture out there to protest. What lessons can we learn from Sri Lanka?
Well, your last statement, I don't know, is scientifically true. That a lot of people not venturing out there to protest because they are fearful. We can talk about that another day. The lesson for me for Sri Lanka is that they are government supporters who are supporting the people of Sri Lanka turning against their government, forcing the Prime Minister to run and leave the country. But if you dare stand up to the government in this country, those very supporters of the PPP call you hooligans. So Sri Lankans are not hooligans and non-patriots and hungry belly for standing up against their government and literally toppling the Prime Minister. But African Guyanese in Guyana, fellow Guyanese in Guyana doing the same thing are called hooligans. That's, for me, is the news and the relevance of what's happening in Sri Lanka, Guyana. The hypocrisy, exposing the hypocrisy. There are PPP supporters in America who voted for Obama, supported Obama, but won't support a black man in the country of their homeland. Hypocrisy.
How do we confront this hypocrisy, sir?
We are confronting it. We are confronting it every day. We are confronting it this minute. We are confronting it.
I usually I love to refer to the days of the WPA working along with the PPP and other opposition political parties in the 80s and so on to challenge the Fox-Burnham government, the PNC. The WPA was not labeled as racist or anything of that nature. But recently, because of the stance of some of us from the WPA, we are being labeled by the likes of Freddie Kissoon as racist and vile and the worst possible alternatives and so on. And that is not only coming from Freddie Kissoon, but a lot of other columnists supportive of the PPP. Your response to them?
The columnists on the African Guyanese side, those who have the pen on the African Guyanese side are not defending us. The columnists on the other side have their work to do. The columnists and the letter writers are the ones who have to defend us against claims and charges of racism and all that stuff. We have our work to do. After what happened 2 Tuesdays ago, the letter section of the newspaper was flooded with Indian Guyanese talking about the massacre at Manipur. Where are the African Guyanese left writers talking about the massacre, the real massacre occurred later on the night? Where are our left writers? Where are our columnists standing up?
I'm looking for a photo of I have a photo of Freddie Kissoon when he was in line with, I think, yourself and Mark Benchcap and Selwyn Peters and others, labeling the PPP administration anti-black. That charge, if I can call it that, has now been withdrawn by Freddie, and he is in the camp of the PPP, and certainly labeling those who challenge the excesses of the PPP as anti-Indian. Do you accept that charge?
If I accept
that charge that you're anti-Indian?
It is not for me to determine that. If Indians feel I'm anti-Indian, they're Africans who know better. And they have to be able to join that conversation.
And so what I'm hearing you say this morning is that the Afro-Guyanese need to step up to the plate, write more.
Yes. We are doing a lot, but there is much more that we can do. And we have to be able to read the political situation and understand that in this age of information, in this age of propaganda, we are lagging far behind because our people are not prepared, or they're not prepared. Let me take that back. Because those who support us are not in the habit of getting out there and getting in the faces of the other side. Too few of us are doing it, and so it's easy to pick us out and to call us all kinds of names. But the more of us do it, it is not easy to pick us out. We have to learn to write letters to the newspapers. They're there. African Guyanese, you hear them on programs like these, they make comments in the comment section, and I love that. They should continue doing that. That's very important. But write letters to the newspapers. Flood those news media with your view of the world. We have to come out of the shadows. We have to come out of the shadows. And we have to confront those out there who are trying to beat us back.
Thank you, sir. It's now 7 hours 46. You certainly have been paying attention to what's unfolding on the political scene locally with GCOM, etc. What have you observed recently that you think you ought to, the public ought to be aware of, and we should be discussing in relation to elections, the election petition, and matters of this nature?
Your question?
What are your recent observations in terms of movements within the country, the local political scene, in relation to GCOM and elections preparations and the likes?
What are my views?
Yes, your observations and views. Last time we spoke, when we talk about the matter of GCOM, for example, we had a situation of the chairperson of GCOM saying, look, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the right, we can't do an inquiry, whereas an inquiry wasn't requested. The government went ahead and announced that an inquiry is to be held. I read recently that the terms, what do you call them, terms of reference are now being drawn up for that inquiry. Right? I know that there is a lot of standoff at GCOM in terms of how they proceed to clean the voters list. Matters like those. What is your recent learning, if I can call it that, and reaction to these developments at GCOM?
Well, you know, the opposition parties, they're the ones who contest elections. And they have to have an electoral strategy. They have to work out an electoral strategy. They have to work out what is going to be their attitude, their common attitude. I would prefer a common attitude. What will be their attitude to the Commission of Inquiry? They will obviously tell us that they have to wait on the terms of reference, correct? So once the terms of reference are agreed on, they will have to decide, are they going to participate in the inquiry? And if they are going to do so, on what condition? If they are not going to participate, then what outcomes are they looking for? They will have to work out an electoral strategy. What is their minimum conditions for participating in an election? It's clear. It's clear that the PPP is taking control of the electoral architecture. They're taking control of GCOM if they have not done so already. The voters list is not going anywhere. They're not going to touch that. And so the opposition has to decide whether, what is their strategy? They have to come up with their strategy. And I don't want to preempt their strategy. What I do know is that, contrary to what some people are saying, that the PPP is about to call a snap election. There are snap election in place like Guyana. You know, the PPP is not going to give up 1 day of power in no snap election. The snap election that we're talking about is local government. The PPP will weaponize the local government election. They will raise the local government election to the level of a national election, they will make the stakes very high, and so in treating the local government election as a national election, they will hope that when they win, if they win the local government election, then it would further solidify their hold on the government and the state. And so the PPP strategy is clear. We are waiting for the opposition to come up with its counter strategy.
Got the opposition coming up with that counter strategy there. The opposition has always seemed to be fragmented to some extent. Quote unquote, the remnants of the coalition. Among the remnants, we had or have the AFC. The AFC has recently announced that at the end of the year, it is likely to pull out of that coalition. What are the likely impact, if any?
Well, it's a matter of perception. The opposition last won as a coalition of parties. And so in that sense, we've planted in the consciousness of our supporters, we've planted in their consciousness the idea of coalition politics. And so when supporters see the fragmentation, they quite correctly view it as a form of weakness. And I think the opposition parties and their leaders are conscious of that. And they have to do something. It's a matter of perception. Who leaves and doesn't leave and so on. And the impact it would have on people. I mean, if you win with 3 parties or 4 parties, and 1 left, 2 left, 3 left, then you're denting the confidence of your supporters. So the opposition will have to bear that in mind. But look, every party has a right to decide when it collates with other parties, under what condition it collates with other parties. Let us be frank that the coalition won the election. It was a tremendous achievement. But the coalition was not managed properly while they were in government. They're now out of government. And they will have to do a lot of work in trying to chart a modus operandi of how you deal with coalition politics. Coalition politics is not easy because you're bringing together parties with perhaps different ideological leanings, parties with different strategies, parties with different outcomes that they're looking for, parties with different political culture. And what you have to do is to try to find what is that minimum platform that all the parties agree on. And you have to sit down and work that out. That's one. So you have to work out a common platform. It will have to be a minimum platform. And then you have to work out how is it you're going to manage the coalition. But like I said, you're managing parties with different outlook, but you're also managing parties of different perceived and real strength. We measure strength or we measure size of parties in Guyana by how many votes you got at the last election. And in a coalition, that is insufficient. In managing a coalition, then you might as well don't have a coalition. Let the party with the most votes continue to go to election. And, maybe one day the big party with most votes will win. We don't know. But you come together in a coalition because the perception is that none of you could win on your own, whether you're a big or small party. And so we have to work out how do you maximize the strength of each party. One party's strength may be its ability to pull numbers. Another party's strength may be its ability to articulate message. Another party's strength may be its ability to bring in that extra 4,000 votes, 5,000 votes, 10,000 votes that you need to clinch the victory. Because as we've seen in the last 3 elections, all it takes is 5,000 votes to flip the government. And a party may not be able to bring 220,000 votes. But if you need 225 to win, you may want a party to bring the 5,000 that you need. And that party is equally as important as the one that brings 200,000. You know, you may have a set of parties, and, you know, one is very good at messaging, and the messaging is important in terms of holding your own base. One party may be able to speak directly to the base, while another party may be big. It can bring 100,000 votes, but it doesn't speak directly to its base. It doesn't speak directly to Black people. It doesn't speak to the disaffected Black people. It doesn't speak to those Black people who say, the last time you didn't do nothing for me. And so another party may be able to speak to those people and bring in a 5,000 vote. The point I'm making is that managing coalitions is not easy, but you have to work out a strategy by which you are going to manage the coalition. And as I pointed out just now, winning an election is not just about how many votes you can bring, because you can bring 220,000 votes and the other side get 225 and you lose. How do you get that other 5 or 6,000 to eclipse the other side? Is as important as the 220,000. You may win from your base 220,000, but a quarter of your base stay home, which means a quarter of 2020, which is about 50,000 votes stay home. Is there not a party in the coalition you can assign that you can say your job is to go to those 50,000 that don't vote, like don't normally vote or not inclined to vote or vet, and bring 10,000 from them? You have to strategize in a coalition. We have to change the narratives around coalitions, and to be more strategic. I think that's the weakness of coalitions in Guyana, that we are not strategic. We are not changing the narratives. I remember it was 1972, San Michel. There was a tie in St. Vincent between the two big parties. He had one seat in Bacchus. He became the prime minister. In St. Kitts recently, 3 parties came together in a coalition, and the prime minister came from the smallest party. So we have to learn to manage coalitions. And I think that's the challenge for the opposition right now.
Thank you, Dr. Hinds. It's now 8 o'clock. I'll open up the line so that viewers will have their say and they can ask you questions and things that they would like to know. In the meantime,
but I would like to continue a little bit,
yes,
if I may speak,
I was about to say
because I will only be around for 20 minutes or so. I think you would have seen in the media that there was a meeting of the opposition parties this past week.
Yes, certainly.
And it wasn't the coalition meeting, it was what they call the opposition parties. So it's another front, I would think, that is opening up. You see, the coalition is an electoral alliance. They came together to fight an election. The problem I think we are going through now is that it was not a coalition for opposition. It was a coalition that was formed to fight an election and win an election. And now you are in opposition, and the coalition was not geared for opposition. And so I think the opposition parties have to find another form of engagement to deal with the opposition politics. I don't think the APNU AFC is geared to deal with opposition politics. We've seen it because it's an electoral alliance. It's not a political alliance that was set up to deal with politics of all seasons. So we are a little bit sometimes unfair to them to say, well, the coalition is not doing a good job in opposition. It is the political parties, perhaps, that are not doing a good job. And so, therefore, it was quite heartening to see all the political parties who share a certain kind of political stance, meaning the AFC, the PNC, the WPA, and the other parties, National Front, Alliance, Nation Builders, etc., etc., to see them meet, not as coalition, but as opposition parties. Because I don't think the coalition can prosecute the struggle that is needed against the PPP. The coalition can prosecute the struggle in parliament. They have 30 parliamentarians. They can prosecute the struggle there, and they should be doing a better job there. But once you get out of parliament and you're telling the coalition about street protests and so on, that's not what they were set up for. They were not set up for street protests and all the other kinds of struggle, boots on the ground that we are talking about. You're looking at the wrong place.
So those responsibilities really fall within the individual parties.
Individual parties, yes. And if the individual parties choose to come together, 2 of them or 3 of them or 4 of them, they can coordinate. But really prosecuting this struggle is for the individual parties, not for the coalition. And I think we have been, I have been very careful not to introduce this into the discussion, but I think now that the parties have met outside of the coalition, I can now have this discussion, right? Because I didn't want to give people the impression that, okay, so the coalition is not going to prosecute the real struggle on the ground. And if you tell people that, then people say, oh my God, well then all is lost. So I wanted to see something, an alternative before I introduce this. No, the coalition, that's not their remit. And when we're quarreling with the AFC for leaving, perhaps we're wasting some energy, right? If the AFC is leaving, that's the AFC business, right? They're leaving something that didn't win, right? When we won, they didn't leave, you know? But the point here is that the kind of struggle that is needed has to be done by the individual parties or groups of parties that share the same view, you know? So it was good to see the parties meet. The WPA, which left on the first day, the PNC, the AFC, which is threatening to leave the coalition, but they all met the other day at a different forum. So I think that may signal that there is now an understanding of the limitations of the coalition in terms of prosecuting the kind of struggle that is needed.
Limitations.
But yes, you know, I mean, you form an electoral alliance. You didn't form an alliance to fight a dictatorship. You formed an alliance to fight elections. And you won the elections. You governed as an alliance. And the elections are over. And now we are dealing with opposition. Do all the parties share the same view of how we approach the some parties may say, look, I am not interested. I don't think we should have marches. Another party may say, well, I think we should have marches. We should have demonstrations. It's a different thing when you come to deal with opposition. It's a different thing. When it comes to fighting for power, parties coalesce easily because the common objective is to get power. When the parties are out of power, it is much more difficult to find common ground. So that's what I'm saying. It was heartening for them to see them meet, and from the press release, it looks as though they have decided that they're going to look to see what they call a joint strategic approach.
Thank you, sir. Am I free to open up the lines now?
Yes, sure. I just wanted to get that in.
6225933 is the number to call. You have Dr. Hinds the next hour for yourself. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let me see if there is any voice note. Wow. Surprisingly, not a single voice note. Not one single voice note, boy. Doctor, I get photo instead. All right, let me inform you folks that while I'm waiting for your voice notes, my call is on its way. Let me take the call first. Caller, your life. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kadaki, Dr. Hinds, and viewers. I just would like to know, I don't know much about the seats and politics, but I just want to know what will happen to the AFC seats if they leave, if they will go back to the coalition or what.
That is an extremely perceptive question, and I don't think they have the answers to that question yet. You see? And that is what I'm saying. When you're governing, that is not an issue, but now that you're not governing, if the AFC leaves, what happens to their seats? The seats were won by the coalition, and they will stay coalition seats. But I think the real question, sister, is whether the AFC will vote in the National Assembly independent of the PNC, because the other seats there are PNC seats, and I think there's one WPA seat that is being held by Sister Tabitha Sarabo. And then there's a GAP seat. GAP, I think, has one seat. Now, that's the question. They will still be in the National Assembly under the APNU AFC, because that's how they contested the election. But will the AFC, with its, 10 seats or how many they have, I think 10, will they vote independently after leaving the coalition? Will they vote independent? They can leave the coalition outside of Parliament, but they can't leave the coalition in Parliament because you are in Parliament as APNU AFC. But will they vote independent of the other parties? That's the question. And there is nothing stopping them from doing that once the Minsk-Accord comes to an end. There's nothing stopping them from voting independently. And I think that's the real question. Thank you very much for the question.
Is there anything that stops them staying in Parliament?
What do you mean staying in Parliament?
Since they're in Parliament based on this coalition, the APNU AFC, and they've left the APNU AFC, can the parliamentarians be recalled? Can those seats be taken back?
Yes. The leader of the list can recall them and say, well, you've left the coalition, but and so you're no longer going to. The problem with that is that they fought the elections as coalition. So even if they leave the coalition outside of parliament, you can't make an argument. You can't make an argument for taking away seats from them because they won those seats as part of an electoral agreement. So it's going to be difficult to make that argument. Of course, the leader of the list can recall parliamentarians, but people are going to take it to court. And you enter into an agreement at a particular time. So, for example, the WPA seat that a WPA member is not currently occupying, that seat is a WPA seat, although WPA is outside of the APNU. But at the time of the election, when the seat was won, the WPA was in the coalition. So I don't think politically something like that can be held up in court. But I mean, the leader of the list can do anything, but it will be challenged in court, and I don't think it will be held up in court.
Thank you. Colleague Life, thank you for holding. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you and Dr. Hinds. Dr. Hinds has said a mouthful in connection with the police. Not that people are not doing, because from one police, 3 have been charged. But I think we got to stand up more on the protest and see what could be done, that the other 3 persons could be brought into the thing, the fear to be charged with the murder. Now with the man, Mr. McLennan, his post was rescinded because they claimed that he was involved in this deed. I would like that other police men who have been named and fingered and called into other problems like this also must be given the same treatment of McLennan. At least the top cop should be a questionable person in this. Now with the other thing with the coalition government and so, the coalition government came into being because of the coalition. Now other factions of the coalition want to break away. I want them to know that if they think that they will be able to get a seat in parliament, that to me is mind-boggling, and I think that AFC and the other factions of the coalition should know what they are getting into. Because once they break away, that means they will be gobbled up by the installed regime. And the AFC had a prime ministerial candidate because Mr. Nagamutu became the prime minister. And even after Ramjatan was being cited for the prime minister position in the continuing coalition. So I don't know what really is the problem. And if we win, we lose. We lose, we get kicked out. People have got to understand that they did a lot of work. And if you, after so many years out of parliament, could have come back into the government, and because of sleight of hand trick, you were being kicked out, I don't think it is wise for you to desert the ship. Because when you break away, to go back into the ruling, gonna be a lot of problems, and everybody now will be watching at the other parties. Supporters of PNC will be bashing and talking, hoping that joining up with the other parties who have run away, if we're doing the right thing. And that will cause a total disarray in the party, because now we will be, instead of focusing on winning and ruling, we're going to be focusing who is Brutus in the party, not we Brutus of Shakespeare, to stab us the last stop in our hearts and cause us to die, like what Sharon Das did. So I think that this, and the Quindon Bacchus, y'all hold up the strength. I cannot be with y'all on a daily basis, but I do send my spirit to you, and when I can come, I'll come. Because right now, I am hard pressed for time, and I have to do my show. So I got to be sewing, I got to be doing everything. So I can't be running around as how I would have liked to. So bye-bye.
Thank you, Rondo. What date is that show, the African fashion show in the Amstel?
Mr. Kadaki, the 21st of August at 3 p.m. at the Amstel Community Center.
Thank you.
I'll give you some tickets.
Thank you, Rondo.
Okay,
Yeah,
bye.
I have some tickets too that I have to pay for. Now, again, you see, Rhonda raises
Call
the
order
point
that,
there. Here she said, Brutus, there's no need for Brutus now, you don't have power. There was a Brutus when you have power, and I think that's the point I'm trying to make. That it's a coalition that was fashioned to win power and to hold the power. It was not a coalition that was fashioned for opposition. And that's why I'm saying the meeting they had this week is really, from my standpoint, is really what we should be focusing on as far as the opposition struggle. Because the coalition was not formed to struggle against government. The coalition was not put together to struggle against extrajudicial killing. The coalition was not put together to struggle for all the things that we're struggling against, racial discrimination, etc. The coalition was formed to fight an election and to win government. Anything out of that, it's anything other than that is for another formation.
Thank you. Call A Live, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Hinds. Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam.
Good morning,
Dr. Hinds,
brother.
I listened to that part where you claim about the opposition as a coalition wasn't prepared as a coalition to come about with plans to operate as a whole, as an opposition. I think that it wasn't much planning needed for the coalition, because the coalition who is in the opposition presently have more majority of experience when it comes to being in opposition. 23 years in opposition, the PNC got. The AFC also have a reasonable amount of years of experience. You know, so I don't see any kind of big planning to come up with some kind of thing to oppose the government. You know. Then on the other hand, according to the contract with the AFC, which is one of the second biggest party, the agreement between they and the APNO is that they are independent. They could go when they want and do certain things in the coalition independently. So there is it. The PNC had an option. They don't have to wait on or sit down and have a plan with the AFC to come out with any opposing thing to the government. You know, so I don't think it was that much. You know, to prevent what's supposed to be done by an opposition. Second, I'm looking at this court situation whereby all of these election former employee that is before the court, they all have defense lawyer. We are having a situation whereby these cases went before the court without any evidence, unprepared, and is running for over 2 years now. And the defense lawyers, they are very silent. I think that there is a breach there with the magistrate or the judiciary. I want to know why the defense lawyers, they are so silent. Nobody's coming out. I mean, they can expect the outsiders to come out and get any sort condemning and get any sort of effect. The way that they will have an effect if they come out with their condemnation or disapproval of what the magistrates are doing in the court. I don't know if that could be done by defense lawyer or they're being prevented from doing so. I don't know. So those are my two things there for contribution this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Dr. Hinds, you care to respond to anything?
Yes. The caller said it's easy to come up with an opposition strategy. I can assure the call if it were easy, they would have done it a long time ago. It's not easy. It's not easy. You can have 50 years of experience in the opposition. This opposition this government is a government in a new era, the era of oil and gas, geopolitics, different internal permutations. You can have a lot of experience in the opposition politics, but you still have to deal with the present. You still have to deal with concrete issues. You still have to deal with balance of forces. You may have been able to oppose the PPP when the balance of forces were the balance of force was equal. Now, if the balance of forces, the PPP is there and you're here, then it takes strategic planning to bring back that balance. So it's not that easy. But I understand what the caller meant when he said, they had experience. But you still have to plan strategically because of the forces that you're up against. There is a judicial culture in Guyana. Cases take a long time, and it's not just the magistrates and the judges, but the lawyers. I've sat down in court sometime, and I see lawyers come in and they ask for postponement. Lawyers sometimes got 20 cases they're dealing with. They have 5-6 cases in one day. They have to run from West Coast to come to Georgetown to go to this place and so on. So the lawyers themselves are into delayed. So to ask the lawyers to ask for speedy trial is really perhaps stretching it. It's a culture. We don't have speedy trials in Guyana.
Maybe the strategy is to stretch it out, make it look long so I charge big money. Oh yeah. Voice note.
Hi, morning Kadaki. Morning Guyana. Kadaki, keep up the wonderful job that you're doing. What I would like to know, and I think the world at large and Guyana would like to know, when these three guys, Sunil, Ramatar, and Rupal, will be calling for questioning. Because as we speak right now, these men are still at work, comfortable at their desk. The world and Guyana at large await their arrest. We are watching, Kadaki. We are watching.
We are watching. We await their arrest, and nothing is happening.
We got 3 arrests. We got 3 arrests by coming out on the road and highlighting. If you want 3 more arrests, we have the blueprint. It's as simple as that.
We don't have to go back to the drawing boards. We simply have to reactivate the plan. I like that one, Dr. Hinds. We got a blueprint. So somebody has to activate the blueprint.
When the blueprint is activated, the blueprint needs to be broadened and tightened, and we know what it takes to do that. So I don't have to preach to the audience here on this morning. The struggle needs 2 things. It needs bodies
and resources.
It needs resources.
Call your life. Good morning.
Good morning, Kadaki. Good morning, Mr. Hinds.
Good morning.
Few comments for me this morning. I think Mr. Norton should do more than what he's doing because you need to, give his supporters the confidence that, well, yes, he's opposition leader, and you have to show the strength as opposition leader, because, writing letter and just keeping press conference is not enough, right? Because these installed people, they don't care what they do every single day. You see what they're doing. Everything they do in their face, they don't care what they do, right? Now, with the EFC, I think these people are going to give me, because as far as they're concerned, since in Ranger time, I'm just on one power, right? And they're going to push a back foot and a foot forward. And this man up on a Mickey Mouse game, and he look like he's another Charandaz. And he know exactly what Charandaz is going to do. And he also influencing Charandaz no confidence motion. So don't only play no game and things. This man is another hypocrite, AFC. And you know, he want to pull out from the coalition because he wants power. Since in Nagamutu time, you see, he was trying to overthrow Nagamutu. So I think that maybe the rest of the coalition soon follow the EFC. They want to pull out, let them pull out. And when they go ahead and do what they have to do, they have to put more boots on the ground, let the people see that they're doing the work properly, and that's the only way they will get support. Right? You just can't just keep in press conference and talking all the time and say, you have to be in the ground. Yes, we understand he's in the ground and what's not, but you need to do more than that. Because just talking, these install don't understand that. Right? Now, Mr. Mandela jumping and having no opposition going to court, everything. Them got to remember when them was in opposition, every single day they just go up the court step for the coalition. Every single day they was in the court for the coalition. So now they see the table turn out. They don't like that. Right? Well, good for the good, not good for the longer. Right? So let's not need to do more. If the EFC want to pull out, let them pull out, because they want to do that ever since. Because I'm just telling me that you got to get out. We can't even run a cake shop, much less a country. Right? So this man would try to sideline and try to do everything just to undermine the coalition. So the people now should just bypass it and do what they have to do. Right? That's my comment this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I have a voice note I want to play. Dr. Hinds, you can go ahead if you want to respond.
No. Those things were directed at the opposition leader and the AFC and Mr. Nandalal. So I'm sure they have people in the audience who are listening. We'll pass the messages on to them.
Thank you.
Good morning, Kadaki and Dr. Hinds. I must confess, I have been out of Guyana for over 30 years, but when I view all the different programs and listen to the different point of view, I think the main thing that's missing is there's one common enemy. And basically, people need to put their egos and the ideals of what they consider to be the ideal government and the ideal party, and who should be in charge and who shouldn't be in charge, who should have position and no position, and those stuff aside, and realize that they have a common enemy, the PPPC. And the sooner we do that, the better it would be. I should say, you do that. My second comment is financial independence is one of the main things that drive any society or culture. They're not going to ever be willing to share the all money. So we, or you guys, need to look for the gaps where they're falling down and pick it up. And start building small industries, small cooperatives, credit unions, black-owned Wall Street, black-owned credit unions, or should I say poor-owned Wall Street, poor-owned credit union. Implement the box system like our ancestors, our forefathers did in order to buy those villages that are now still in existence. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a long, hard task, but in the end, when all gives out, or basically they bankrupt the country, the small businesses that's built and sustained by the average person is what's going to keep that country afloat. That's my point of view, and happy belated birthday, Kadaki.
Thank you for the birthday greetings. Thank you for that voice note. I try not to say much about certain things, but by now we have been running this program long enough for folks to know that if a voice note is playing and you call, you're going to disrupt it. And I consistently have to deal with this. I've been staying quiet for quite a long time. I'm reminding you, please, if a voice note is playing and you call, it is going to get stopped. Call A Live, good morning.
Hello?
Call A Live, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, good morning, Ms. Dr. Hinds, and good morning, everyone in the diaspora. I've got so many things to say. So let me start here. The APNU AFC, from its inception, has been a party that came to birth in some scandal, some seditious scheme. That's the nature of the AFC. Ramjatan saw how he came out of the PPP. Look at his genesis. Under what circumstances he came alive. Look at Trotman, under what circumstances he came alive. And in that marriage, it wasn't surprising that a Charandas came out of that marriage. Right? And that has been the way ever since. Now, the AFC, as according to Dr. Hinds, came on board to win, according to Dr. Hinds, to win an election. But you know, they have a thing called association and assimilation. And the AFC has been associating with the PNC and the coalition and the movement in order to assimilate our support structure. And they have been doing that. You notice that Sherrod Duncan got all the people watching him in the morning time, in the daytime, and the night time? What do you think that's going to happen when election time comes? But this is the strategy of people who got 40 years of political science degrees. This is the genius of the political coalition. I know people like to say they've been in politics long, 40 years, got 2 master's degrees. How does this amount to a good strategy? Now, when Sherrod take everybody over to the AFC, what you gonna do? At the end of the election, what you gonna do? We're gonna start all over again when everybody gets sick and tired and morality is all-time low? What are we gonna do then? When we're scrambling for votes, and we ain't got them because everybody gone with Sherrod because the AFC sent Sherrod to co-opt. Now everybody talking about co-opt, but you realize that Sherrod corrupting the whole show? Nobody want to talk about that. Let's bury our heads in the sand and hope for the best. We got to stop this piecemeal appeasement way, nibbling our way, because we have a weak set of people. So we have to settle with weak solutions. And we are hoping by God that this ship that's taking our water don't sink in the middle of the sea. We're hoping by God, by some hook or by crook, by some imaginary way, that we're going to win the next election with this kind of strategy. Is that what we're telling people to support? Come on. We got to get something proper to tell people to support. Now the AFC apparently talking, look, Ramjatan has never been on a protest. Never. Why? How come? He against protest? But you notice, he never on a protest. He said in Sherrod all the time as a black man, for poor black people from the PNC. Right? Nobody is saying nothing. Meantime, Charandas, he too good. Not Charandas, Ramjatan too good to come for protest. But he always got time for claim that the PBP are his friends. If you could find so much time and effort to lean towards the PPP, you can't find one time to come and protest and lean with the PNC on the street. What I tell you? So Dr. Hinds, for all your work you're putting out, and Kadaki for all the work people putting out with emotion and support, we got to have a better solution than this. Because if the boat rocking now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Realistically, now are we not talking about, the coalition and the coalition this and fine. But we don't notice we're getting the kind of support we need from the AFC. So how is that going to narrow it down? How many seats the AFC have in Parliament now? You mean to tell us? So we need to quantify where the AFC is. And we need to say to Sherrod Duncan where he stands. I will repeat that. We need to say to Sherrod Duncan where you stand as a black man in this struggle. Because Sherrod, don't pretend you don't know. This is a black and East Indian thing. You represent black people in the AFC. And Ramshatan, hiding in the corner, wants you to bring us over to the AFC, but he never wanted to come in the protest line. How come? So we got to call a spade a spade. Anyway, I just want to put that out there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for calling. Dr. Hinds?
No, don't comment. I think the callers made this point,
It's now 8 hours 36 and the lines remain open. You're tuned to the Buxtonian Morning Time. We're talking about the issues with Dr. Hinds. I saw a comment from someone say, you make up things as you go along, right? Vincent Adams is asking that I show the tape where the two Indian policemen were engaged shooting at Bacchus. I think it's an insinuation. Vincent, you have to come clearer. I'm not sure what you're asking me to do. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Hinds. Good morning, Kadaki. When I listen to the last caller, and I tend to agree with some of the things he said, I wouldn't particularly accept everything he said. But where it comes with respect to the protest line, you don't seem to understand that's a fact. And you'd hardly, if ever, see Indians coming in on board. The only time you see Indians on the marching line or in the picket line is when they have this guy from Kaichu doing his thing over the oil money. Barring that, you don't see them anywhere with all those inhumane things that has happened to black people on the East Coast and elsewhere. You don't see them coming out there to even stand up or walk for an hour or half an hour. You don't see them coming out. And it is a revelation of which people have become conscious of. And at the same time, I wouldn't want to subscribe to the fact that Sherrod Duncan is there to draw black people over to AFC. I don't think so. I think that piece of work he's doing there is as an opposition. Just like when WPA was up in arms against the might of the PNC in those days of Walter Rodney, there were lots of Indians who were with WPA, not that they like WPA, but they hate PNC. So they gravitate to those who would fight against PNC. But even to now, we have the same situation in the country. The Indians are not even coming with the coalition. They prefer to sit back and give a few token statements on Facebook, and they're content with that. It's only black people you see coming out there. I mean, I hate to sound this way, but that is what the information reveals. So we have to be cognizant of that. We have to be cognizant of that. And what do they expect of Arby Norton? He can't raise a magic wand and get things done the way most people look forward to it to happen. This thing takes time. He can do so much and no more. And I'm saying that people have to get up off their behinds and take a more proactive approach rather than sit back and wait for the politician to lead them. He has been doing quite a lot, and let's be honest about that. Anyway, guys, you guys have a wonderful day, and hope things come better than it's getting worse right now. Thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you for your call. 6225933 is the number to call. The lines remain open. I hope you guys have been seeing that photograph with Freddie Kissoon because I've been featuring it. Right? It says the PNC the PPP has an anti-black plan. Dr. Hinds, The lines, the stage is yours. Should you have anything you want to add to the
No,
discourse?
I think, the callers are making the point very clear. It means that we have to be constantly studying the sociology of our country, to understand where people are, what motivates them, and so on. I said earlier that some parties don't like public demonstrations, they don't like marches, they're not. And I'm pointing there, I was pointing to the difficulty of building coalition, because you're really dealing with forces with different outlooks, different political outlook, different political strategy. And so therefore you, in order to hold a coalition together, you have to be very skillful in terms of looking for a minimum common approach, and navigating the differences you have. Sometimes you have to have small blocks within a larger coalition, because you may have 4 parties. 2 of them don't like the approach of public demonstrations. The other 2 may like the approach of public demonstrations. They may have to act on their own, and so on and so forth. So I'm very glad that callers are keen in on this issue of building partnerships and building coalitions. It's not easy, but it is what is needed. And I can't speak for Mr. Norton. I wouldn't, but I will support the last caller who said people have to join what is there. We've been calling for quote unquote boots on the ground. The boots are on the ground. They scared the daylight out of the government. The first time the boots hit the ground, the government running scared. They're ducking in every little village now, trying to smart people and so on. Do we now sit back, or do we now intensify what has started? I've always said that you know not when the bell is going to ring. So you prepare for the bell. A lot of people say, well, when the thing started in Golden Grove, the other village should have joined in. But the point is, did we prepare the other village for that spark in Golden Grove? We didn't. And that's what I mean. Prepare for the spark. Don't call for the spark, because you don't know when the spark will come. Don't try to force it. Don't try to force it.
Thank you.
The most you can do is prepare. Prepare. So when that spark happens, the other villages are ready. Clearly, when Golden Grove hit the road, the other villages weren't ready, because we prepared it.
Caller Live, thank you for holding. Good morning.
Morning, Kadaki, and morning, Dr. Hinds, and morning, Guyana. 2 great Guyanese that are actually performing their civic duty to Guyana. Great statement from Coffee. Now, when we do look and analyze Guyana, have the installed president ever said that we have a race or an issue with racism? No, I don't think he's ever even come out to acknowledge that we have a race. And race is the #1 issue in Guyana. The #1. Now, what is the WPA stance on election, and will they support or have a red line as far as telling their supporters participate or not to participate? That's a question I have for WPA. Now, when we look at the discriminatory practice of the PPP and how the AFC was born, do we know what the ethnic makeup of the AFC is? And I guess it is majority Indians. And like Coffee had said, they have never supported coming out to protest, and all the gains that are being made on the backs of Afro-Guyanese. Anything we protest and it's passed, and just like here in the United States where the African protest and all the other ethnicity, whether it's Indian, Japanese, anyone else, they were able to actually gain based on the African American protesting. So the same thing is happening in Guyana. The Indians will not come out, and it's my references is that because they simply don't associate themselves with us or see themselves like us. They see themselves as just strictly Indian and let them black people do their own thing. So I don't actually will hold your breath to think that they're going to come out like that. Or one or few may, but it's in their DNA, in my belief, that they simply don't associate themselves with the struggle or anything because it's their people that's in power and they're the ones that they're thinking going to benefit only. So don't expect Indians to come out and do anything. Now, where are the Indians in the PNC that actually should be coming out and condemning? I do not see that at all. So it just gives us, it shows us where they are because we do not see them. And we got some of the executives in the PNC are Indians, but you do not see them coming out at all. And that is where our problem lies. So how to solve that? I simply don't have the formula, but we should recognize what's actually happening and have to be critical to see why Indians behave the way they behave. And that's my take.
Thank you, caller. It's now 8 hours 47. You tune to the Buxtonian Morning Time. We're talking about the issues with Dr. Hinds. Voice note. Caller, hold the line, please. Caller live, go ahead. Caller hung up. Caller live, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Hinds. Good morning, Kadaki. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Kadaki, I have a question for you. As General Secretary of the WPA, are we going to see you in Parliament this time in the space of MP Halley? Because she's not representing the WPA, and it's only fair that a WPA representative be there to represent the people that supports the WPA. Please answer. Thank you.
What a question. All right, let me say this. Who goes to Parliament to represent the WPA is dependent on the WPA. The WPA and whoever is chosen will have to sit and have that discussion as to who goes to Parliament. I'll tell you, my personal position right now is that I rather not be the one asked to go to Parliament. I think I am doing quite a lot of work outside of Parliament. I intend to continue to do this kind of work outside of Parliament. And WPA has a lot of capable people to go to Parliament. The verdict is out. You people, viewers, you can have a say also, I think. And that might have an impact on what decisions are made. But my personal position is that I'd rather not go to Parliament in this current dispensation. I prefer to stay out and work.
A caller before asked for the WPA's position on elections, whether we have a red line. We don't have a red line yet, but we have demands. And one of the demands is a brand new voters list. That is our primary demand. Given
call all the line.
What came out given what came out in the recount, we had 40 odd boxes without documents inside. The WPA is saying that we have to look at the architecture before elections on election day. We have to look at that. Nobody's been talking about that. We've been quite correctly talking about a voters list, because if you have a clean voters list, then you minimize things like people personating other people, people not being in the country and voting. We got rid of the bloated voters list, etc. But we have to do something about the manipulation on election day, because we saw that was a big problem. That's why it's important for GCOM to do its review, so we can see where the weaknesses are. But from a big political standpoint, a clean voters list, a new clean voters list is where we begin. We are not yet ready to draw a line in the sand, but we are saying that that is an absolute necessary first step for us in the WPA.
Call it live.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Kadaki. Good morning, Dr. Hinds and fellow soldiers in the struggle. I just wanted to add my take on the coalition governance of Guyana. I couldn't help but notice that the coalition comprised mainly of Indo-Guyanese, and they're pretty much reluctant to come out and protest, to stand up for Black people. So at some point, I believe we have to ask ourselves, what is the value of a coalition? Is it worth the sacrifice that Black people are called upon to make? We have to forego protest action, which is pretty much the last straw, the only thing that we have, the only tool we have left to fight a brutal dictatorship is boots on the ground. And if a coalition is not willing to do that, I would say at this point, it's not worth having that coalition. If a coalition exists for Black people to suffer and to be brutalized, that coalition is not worth it. Any genuine coalition would understand that when we decide that we have to take to the streets is when the abuse have reached a certain level and we have to draw the line. And if that coalition doesn't have what that as their value, then we don't need them. And when we started to form coalition, we must make it clear from the onset. If we understand this to be the modus operandi of the DPP. They do not know how to govern any country, and so long as they are in power, they're going to abuse their power. And one of the tools the most effective tool we have to deal with them is protest action. We are going to talk. If you believe in talk, fine, I'm all for talk. We believe in talk as well. But if it reaches a point where they're going to fire Black people, arrest every Black leader that they could get their hands on, that's an intolerable position, and Black people can't do it. I understand that it is believed that the Indo community may be a little more than the Blacks, but we must take in mind that population don't win elections. Demographic don't win elections. Actual voters, people who show up to vote, win elections. We have to be able to marshal our forces, make sure that every Afro-Guyanese is a part of this process and understand what's at stake, show up, do their part, participate in your election, let your voices be heard, let your votes be registered. And we can definitely win this. I believe we can win without the coalition. If we marshal all of our forces, if every single Afro-Guyanese understand what's at stake and decide to do it. That's my take.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
All right, it's 6 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. Permit me to play that voice note I wanted to play, and then we'll do our wrap up.
I believe that the killings are initiation. Good morning. I believe that the killings are initiation or a way of getting promotions within the police force. If you look at the gangs of the U.S., you go out, you lash somebody over the head, you put a bullet in a mother, or something like that, and that's how you're initiated. That's how you get promotion. You kill your cousin, you become a big man. You become a big deal. My belief is that these killings are a way of the police officers proving that they're willing to do any and everything or anything in order to be promoted. Remember, I keep your secret, you keep mine. Have a good day and keep up the good work.
Good morning, Kadaki and Dr. Hinds. I must confess, I have been out of Guyana for over 30 years, but when I view all the different programs...
Listen to this one. Right. So at 4 minutes to the 9, 4 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour, Dr. Hinds, you can begin the wrap-up process, please.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me see. I think I see one short voice note here. So I'll try to get it played, and then we'll think. There's a caller still. Caller, you're live.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, caller, you're live.
I call in pertaining to an issue that I have talked about on a previous show. I'm calling concerning the scholarship students that graduated from UG from 2019 and is not placed as yet by the government. And some have been called and have been offered a contract of $140,000, and when this money is taxed, you're getting $115,000 alone. That is a degree, a fourth degree. That is my warning concern. I don't know if there's any relevant authority that could assist us in this situation.
Caller, I'd like to ask you, okay, do you have a list of all of those persons who are graduated and who were offered contracts?
Yes, there's a list. PSM has it. PSM has it.
Okay, so connect with me on WhatsApp. This is the same WhatsApp number you called, and so we can talk about it, and so I can get a clear understanding. Please and thanks.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, caller. Yes, we will eventually have to look at this issue. I hope the caller comes through, and so I can get the information, and so we can ventilate the issue there. Final one for
I was
the day.
wondering the same thing. What the last caller just alluded to. If members of the AFC like Sherrod Duncan, Kathy Hughes, and so on, those black members would still, sorry to have it sound that way, would still remain with AFC if it pulls out of the coalition, and especially if, I don't know, if Ramjatan would want to link up with PPP. This is such a confusion. Oh, Lord.
Thank you for that one. Dr. Hinds, wrap up, please.
Well, we are a diverse society, and people have a right to associate with whatever party they want to associate with. And I hear the criticisms of the AFC, but if there are other parties, we have put ourselves forward. You and I, we are WPA. We have put our party forward. People are welcome to join us. People know what our politics are. They know what our position on public protest is. They know what our position is on how oil money should be spent. They know what our position is on election. We have put ourselves, the program of our party out there. People are welcome to join us. If you don't think that the AFC fits the bill as a third party, you throw your support somewhere else. I don't mind people complaining, you have to, and criticize and all that. But you have choices. As I said, Kadaki and myself, and we interact with more than other WPA members. We have put ourselves forward, and we've put our party forward, and we have put before you where we stand on the issues and where we stand on how we get to the prize. We are clear in our minds the PPP has to be moved aside, and we have to adapt to the changing situation, and we have to fight on all fronts, not one or the other, all fronts. We as a party are not afraid of public demonstrations. We feel that it is our democratic right. We feel it's our democratic right. At the level of policy, like I said, we have put forward our economic policy. We have put forward where we stand. We're not afraid to discuss the issue of race. We do. We confront race. We confront the probably more than any other party. We confront the race issue very frankly. We pay for it, but we are frank about it. We don't dodge the race issue. So there is a case for those of you who are looking for a kind of progressive politics. So, you know, even as you complain and you think about other parties, to us, we are here. And as I said, there are categories. We accept members and we accept supporters, categories of association. And people have to, as I said, come out of the shadows, you know. Please indicate to us if you would like to be associated with our party, would like to work with us, you would like to become a member, you would like to become a supporter, and we can begin to work together in building, first of all, the base of the party, and then translating that base into a wider movement. You know, we are not one track in terms of how people associate. Like I said, you don't want to be a card-carrying member, that's fine. You can be a supporter. You can be an associate, you know? So there are various ways in which you can engage with us as a party. You may be interested in working on issues of African Guyanese. We will find a place for you. We have an organization that you can join, an arm and that you can join. And you can work on that issue if that's what you want to work on. If you're interested in working on the interests of African Guyanese, there's a section of our party that you can work with on that issue. Right? And people feel very strongly about that issue. And we are not telling you that we don't want you in our party. It is not the only thing that we are working on in our party, but it's an important aspect of opposition work is that you have to look after the interests of your supporters. So if people are interested in working on the interests of African Guyanese, there's a place for you in our party. If you're interested in working on the interests of Indian Guyanese and trying to bring them over to our side, there's a place for you in our party. There is a place for you. If you're interested in working on economic issues and cash transfer, and you know, the issues of the oil contract and those things, there's a place for you in our party. There's a place for you in our party. If you're interested in working on mass mobilization, what we are calling now boots on the ground and mobilizing communities, and there is a place for you in the WPA. We want to make a party that is not we have never been a conventional party. WPA has always been more like a movement. Has always been a kind of movement party. And so if there are issues and areas that you want to work on, just indicate to us. Kidaki is always there, I am here, indicate to us. And we can begin this work. You know, you want to work on Black people issue, fine. You know, we recognize that, and we are not dodging away from the race issue. Perhaps that is where we are probably different from our partners. Our partners, you know, dance around race. We in the WPA don't dance around race. One caller said earlier today that he feels that it's one of the most important issues. Yes, We feel so too. We also feel the business of poor people, and when it comes to oil wealth. You know, we are not big on contract negotiation. We are not saying it's not important. We are not big on local content. We're not saying it's important. We are big on what the people get. So we are saying you're getting 500 million now. We want 10% of that 500 million to go directly to people in this country. And we are not discriminating based on race or class. Because if you try to, what they call target, if you try to target the poor, then you have to define who poor. $100,000, unless it's poor, what happened to the man who make it 101, 102, 103? You're going to left the out. You're going to left the lady who make it 110 because you think you want to target 100 and under. So that's why we are not into the targeted thing. We want to target everybody so that nobody will be left. And we are prepared to make that argument and to argue with all the economists who are talking about targeting. We are not the kind of society that you can target seamlessly. All right? And so if you're interested in working on those economic issues, you know, you want to be part of a WPA think tank, you know, to work up on policies, there is a place for you in our party. But we welcome you because often we are depended on to deal with questions of policy, you know, in terms of parties. So if you want to work on the policy area at think tank, there's a place for you in our party. Give us your number right away. We're ready to roll with that. If you're interested in mobilizing community and you live in quarantine, you live at Firish or Eversham or number 51 or wherever you live at Grove, wherever you live, and you're interested in becoming part of this larger movement, all right? Come and join us and help us to build groups in your community. You don't have to leave your community. You join us and you help us to build groups, whether those groups are groups of 4 or 5 people. And the party engages those groups. So if you want to engage in that kind of mobilization, you live on the West Coast and you want to help to mobilize the West Coast, so you live in Linden or wherever you live, and you want to do that kind of mobilizing work, there is a place for you in our party. So we need people who want to do mobilizing work. We need people who want to do policy work, a kind of policy formation and think tank kind of thing. We need people in the party for that. We need people in the party, like we said, who want to deal with the Black people problem, or Indian people problem, or Amerindian people problem. There's a section of our party that deals with that. If you have expertise in public communication and getting messages out, and you have skills in communication, that's a very important part of a party's work. Publicity and communication and PR. There is a place for you in our party. We want the kind of party that when you come in as a member, you have something to do. You just don't be a card-carrying member and that's it. You have something to do. And we're also saying that you don't have to be a member. You can be a supporter and still participate. And of course, all parties need resources. If you are a person who can help to raise resources, yes, there's a place for you in the party. And those resources can range from books to actual money, but it's not just money. Like I said, it can be mobilizing books, mobilizing things that community need, that children need. So it's the kind of party that we are trying to build. It's a modern party. That is, we're a party that has been around since 1974. And we recognize that almost 50 years later, the party has to face the change. And so therefore, we are inviting people to come into the party, especially younger people, but not confined to younger people, as we don't have this fetish view about youth. Because our WPA never had a youth arm. Because we felt whether you were 20 or you were 40, you were as important a member. So we never had a youth arm. It doesn't mean that if younger people come into the party and they want to form a youth arm, we will tell them no. But what I'm saying is that we are not the type of party that say we only want young people. We want everyone to come to our party and to help us to contribute to the larger struggle. Because each party has to make its contribution to the larger struggle. And come in and help us. Where we are strong, you can help us stronger, to get stronger. Where we are weak, you can help us to begin to build. Where we are non-existent. If somebody is interested in working with young people, like I said, and they feel that we need a kind of radical, militant kind of young youth arm, we are not objecting to that. So there is a place for everyone in our party, including, like I said, Amerindians and East Indians who share our view of the world, especially, I would say, Amerindians and East Indians, because we are weak in those areas. And we had a discussion this morning as to the fact that Indians are not usually very visible. So especially East Indians and Amerindians, we would like to come into the party. And we would want to stress that we rather suspect that African Guyanese tend to be more open to us. And we are saying that that's an area of work that we deem as important as other areas. And so if you're interested in working on Black issues, you're interested in working on issues that have to do specifically with African Guyanese, you are welcome. In fact, we are ready to roll with that. We are ready to roll with the think tank economic issues. Those are two areas that we are raring to go. And the third area that we're raring to go is the mobilization in communities. If you're interested in those areas, we are ready for you like tomorrow. All right. And like I said, if there are other areas of work that you deem important. So my plug here is that if you are dissatisfied or you don't share with other parties, WPA is open to you. For the last 2 years, Kedaki and myself have been here every week. You're familiar with us, you know our politics. And some of the other WPA members, Professor Thomas, has appeared on my program from time to time. Brother Takuma, Brother Dion Abrams, Brother Ali Majid, and others have appeared on programs. So you have had a glimpse of some of our executives. So you have a sense of what our party is and where we stand. So please join us, text us, call us, email us, and we will be ready to roll with you. All right? I will expand more on this on the Politics 101 so that we can begin this mobilization. This work has to be done, and we want to contribute. We are already contributing, but we can contribute more as more people join us. And if you don't want to be public, we understand that. We have to work at various levels. Some people have to work behind the scenes. Some people have to work below the scene. Some people have to work above the scene. Some people have to work as supporters. All right? So there is a place for everyone in this movement called the Working People's Alliance.
Now, guys, before you go, you've been tasked by the General Secretary. Abiola Marshall is saying you have to make the party members known, the top brass. People don't just join a party knowing Dr. Hinds in Kidaki.
Well, I called some names there just now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Very
I
well.
called some executive members there just now.
Thank you, and you will expound, you said, on Politics 101.
Yes, that's.
Good. Thank you, viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Buxtonian Morning Time. It has been a pleasure being with you here this morning. It's 50 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes on Kams. Something is about to happen in the course of the morning. Keep your eyes on Kams. Listen up for your alerts. Remember to join the YouTube page. Like and subscribe and share and all of that. And so I say to you, stay safe until you hear from me again in the course of today. And definitely you will hear from Dr. Hinds tonight on Politics 101.